Hello all, how are you? I hope everybody is feeling good. Yes, so we are now in week 3, everyone, and still with me, Miss Mona Lisa Pasaribu. We are going to look over the material for week 3 for English 1 for Diploma 3, KU31101. And the topic for this week, as you can see, it is about home industry. So let us check the material for this week. So as you can see over here, we'll have a quick review from last week's materials, actually from the last 2 weeks material, and then we'll have a look at the objective of the lesson, and then we'll talk about the topic for week 3, which is mainly about the products of home industry. And then after that, we'll talk about the features of products. So how do you explain the features of one product using the grammar of made and used to, and also comparative degree. Okay, so there will be 3 grammar parts that we will be discussing for this week, and then we will do some practice. So we'll have a quick review. So this is my question. So how are you so far with the materials in week 1 and week 2? Okay, so do you have any difficulties, do you have any issues, or maybe so far you can get the materials from week 1, which is about encounter, and week 2, which is about which is about academic roles. Yeah, so if you have issues, if you have questions, please ask me in our practicum session in week 3. Now we'll look at the objectives for this week's material. So we are going to look at some product of home industry. So we're going to identify some features, and then we're going to look at the explanation of these features using the relevant grammar. So as I've mentioned earlier, there will be 3 grammar topics that we will discuss. The first one is using made of or made from, and then the second one will be about the function using used to or used for, and then the last one is about comparing it to the other product, okay, using comparative degree. So let's check these one by one. Oh, before we go to that part, I'd like to remind you again, when you are in practicum session, make sure to keep your cameras on and then be ready to share your work on screen. So no more reason you do it in your paper, so you cannot do share screen. If you want to do it on paper, you can, but make sure you have the copy of it, you have the photo, and you can share it in your screen so that everyone can see it. Yeah, so if you do it in your book, it's fine. Just take a picture of it, and so you can share it to your friend. Either way, you can also make it in the Word, in Word or in Excel, in whatever the software you want to use. But just make sure that you are ready to work, to share your work on the screen. Okay, so whenever I call your name, the last one, be ready to answer. Okay, so those are the protocols for our practicum session for week 3 and until the end. Okay, so that's the reminder for everyone. So now we'll have a look at the products of home industry. So what kind of products of home industry are you that you know? Okay, so there are 2 questions here. What kind of home industry product do you know? And then what are the criteria of home industry? Okay, so for these 2 questions, I would like to ask you to post this in our YouTube comment. Okay, so there are 2 questions. What kind of product of home industry do you know? Sorry, this is not that, but do you know? And then what are the criteria of home industry? So you call a product a home industry when it is, let's say for example, it's cheap. Okay, maybe it's not. Okay, so please answer these 2 questions in the YouTube comment. and we are going to discuss your answer during the practicum session. Okay, so you might want to pause this video first. Mungkin di pause dulu, pause this video, and then after that post your answer in the YouTube comment. Okay, and another reminder, when you post your answer in the YouTube comment, make sure you put your ID first, underscore your name, and then your answer. Okay, so that way, whatever the accounts that you are using to post your answer, we still can trace who are posting. Okay, so don't forget to post your ID, student's ID, underscore your name, and then your answers. Okay, so that's how we are doing the posting in the YouTube comment. Okay, so pause this recording and then start posting in the YouTube comment. Now we'll look at some of the examples of products of home industry. So this one is, I think everyone may have at least one of this. Probably like this one, it's food coverings, and this one is, I guess this is bakery, and this one is rattan seed. Okay, so these are the examples of products of home industry, and I'm pretty sure at home right now you also have at least one product of home industry that you can maybe post that as an answer in the YouTube comment that you post just now. Yeah, so as a warm-up activity for today's week, I have here an exercise for you to make. So there are materials, products, and kinds of product. So I have here materials, soil, okay, and then I have rotan is in Bahasa, old newspaper, cassava, and also plastic. So these are 5 materials. I think this is 5 common materials in making home industry products, and these are some home industry products that you can think of. So we have recycled papers, vase, homemade chips, chairs, bakery, pottery, handicraft bags, and a table. Okay, so you may want to think about what kind of materials does this product use. Okay, so for example, vase, which materials are being used to make vases. Okay, so please put this answer in your exercise. I don't know if you have exercise book or you put it in your Word. Later in our practicum, you can share screen your answers. Now we will look at the features of products. Okay, so of course, when you're explaining a product, there will be some things that you explain. Okay, like for example, the price, problems, how it's from, where it's from, and etc. Okay, but for the purpose of this study, we are going to look at 3 points. Okay, so the first time is the materials, and then we also talk about the function of this product, and also the outstanding value from other products. So what is the outstanding value from this product compared to the other product? Alright, so now we will look at the grammar points for these features. Okay, so in order to explain the features of materials in a product, this is one way to do it. Of course, there's other ways, but we are looking at it from these 2 grammar points. Okay, so the first one is using made of, and then the second one is using made from. So what is actually the difference between made of and made from? Okay, so made of is when you can find, it's only to list down the materials. Okay, so for example, you say some bottles are made of plastics, and you can still see the materials in the end product. While when you're using made from, you want to talk about the materials, but you want to emphasize on the result of the process. Okay, so for example, cheese is made from milk. So cheese is the result of the processing of milk. So you don't really see the milk, like the liquid form of milk, in the cheese, but you see cheese is actually the result of the processing of milk. Okay, so the way to explain the grammar construction of this. So if you want to use made of, you want to use subject plus is or are plus made of plus the noun. And when you use made from, subject plus is or are plus made from plus noun. Okay, so made of and made from, and make sure if the subject is singular, you use is. If the subject is plural, you use are. As simple as that. Okay, so that's one point of the way to explain the materials. Alright, so now we will move on to the explanation on how to explain the functions of a home industry product. Of course, you can say many ways of explaining the functions of a, what do you call, a home industry product. Yeah, but we are going to look at two ways over here. The first one is using used to, and the second one is using used for. Okay, so how do you use both of this grammar? So when you're using used to, you make sure that it's followed by verb 1, and then when it's using used for, then you make sure that you follow it with verb ing. Okay, so for example, rattan is used to make various furniture, or you can say rattan is used for making various furniture. Okay, so these are two ways of explaining functions, by using used to and using used for. The pattern to use this is you use subject plus is or are plus used to plus verb. And when you're using used for, subject plus is or are plus used to plus verb ing. Okay, and again, the same thing like in the made of and made for. If you're using subject singular subject, then you use is. And if it is a plural subject, then you use are. Okay, so that's the second one of feature of home industry product. And then we move on to the last one. Alright, so now we will talk about explaining the outstanding value from other product. So when you are saying about outstanding value from other product, that means you're actually comparing it to the other product. Okay, so when you are using comparisons from other from other products, then we can use the degree of comparisons. Okay, and in probably using the level of comparative degree. So we are talking about comparative degree. Of course, you can also say it with the superlative degree when you think it's better than it's the best from all the other product. But for the purpose of this grammar discussion, we are focusing only on the comparative degree. Okay, so the first one, we make comparisons with short adjectives. For example, fast by adding er at the end of the adjective, becoming faster. So with the short adjective, it's very easy. You just need to put er at the end of the adjectives. Okay, and then when you're comparing it, you make sure that there is one product explained and then compared to the other product. For example, our product is cheaper than other home industry products. Sorry, this one is with S at the end, yeah? Than other home industry products. And then you also say for the longer adjectives, for example, realistic. Realistic is a big long adjective, I would say, yeah? So when it comes to longer adjectives, longer syllable adjectives, you add more or less before the adjective. Okay, so for example, it's more realistic, or you can say it's less realistic. So the example is different, okay, but this one I think I'll put valuable over here. You can always change it, yeah? So for example, valuable, so you say more valuable or less valuable. And then for example, Sylvie necklace is more valuable since the material used is original. So you're comparing it with the other product and why it is more valuable than the other one. Okay, so putting it together, explaining the features of products using the materials, functions, and outstanding value of from other product. So for the materials, you use made of and made from, and you know the difference now between made of and made from. Made of is you only want to list the materials, while made from you want to explain the process, the product from a process, as the result of a process. Okay, so that's for materials. And for functions, you use used to and used for. Used to is followed by verb 1 and used for is followed by verb aim. And then for outstanding value from other products, you're using comparative degree, okay, or comparatives, using er for short syllable adjective, and for using more or less for the longer syllables adjectives. Okay, so these are the grammar discussion. Now we will look at the examples over here. Okay, now we come to the reading. Now, as you can see over here, I have a very short reading. So with this reading, as I have mentioned to you in our online meeting, when it comes to the reading, I want you to pause this recording, and after that, take your phone and then do recording for these readings, okay? And that's one alternative to do this. The other one is to copy the slides and then after that record it in your laptop. And for this reading, as I've mentioned, this is good for your pronunciation practice, and when you have words you don't understand, you can Google it, or you can always ask me the way to pronounce it during the session in the practicum. Okay, so make sure that you do this reading recording, so you read your own voice as you read this text, and then later in our practicum session, I will choose some students to play their recordings of this reading. Okay, so for the first exercise, I want you to identify all the grammars used in the features of product CASSAVA brownies. So for this grammar, I want you to go back again to the reading, and then after that identify the grammars that we have just discussed in the text. Okay, so we talk about made of or made from, we talk about used to and used for, and we talk about comparatives. Have a look at these grammars in the text that we just discussed. And then the last practice for this video is there are 7 sentences over here. You need to choose from the options given the best answer, okay? And as we have discussed this previously, therefore it is going to be a lot easier for you to answer this question. And of course, when you answer this question, it's not only the answer, but you also need to give the reason why the answer is that one. Okay, so for example, number 1, it's made of because, etc., etc. Okay, and until the answer for number 7. And we will discuss this answer in the practicum session along with some of the questions in the practicum slide. Yeah. And then for the practicum, we will have more practice on the grammar, explaining features of product, and of course at the end you'll be writing something related to these features of product. And if you see the slides in the practicum session after this, you may want to finish the exercises as well. And then for the next video, we'll be talking about environment, and we talk about environment destruction. And for this next week's video, we will talk about campaign. Okay, so writing a campaign for environmental to reduce the environmental destruction. Alright, so these are the references for this week's material. Thank you very much for watching this video, everyone, and I hope to see you all in the practicum session. If you have questions related to this material or even last week's material, be my guest. Please ask me in our WhatsApp group or also in our online meeting. Okay, thank you very much, and I hope to see you all. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.